So you're very welcome. The webinar today will take about 40 minutes and I'll go through questions at the end. If you need to ask a question, there should be a questions box at the side of GoToWebinar and you can type your question in there and I'll get to it at the end. I'll also give you a chance to ask your question by unmuting microphones and you can raise your hand. If you have a concern about being recorded, because I am recording today's session, please let me know. You can email me after the session today before I publish it. So our new platform we're calling Learn with Nala, which is our new version of WriteOn. WriteOn was our old e-learning platform that was there for about 10 years, which is a very long time in the software world. Unfortunately, it is discontinued and there won't be a chance to resurrect it. It has worked very well for learners, but there were some things that we needed to do from a reporting perspective, as well as growing the platform that we weren't able to do because it was quite a bespoke system. So we went through a long tendering process and went with a company called D2L, Desire to Learn, and their platform is called Brightspace. And that platform is used in some of the universities, such as TU Dublin and UCD. So we hope that when learners are using this in the further education sector, if they're going on with their learning journey, then they're using a platform that they will meet later on, which will be to their advantage as well. So the new platform, the home pages of it look something like this. And it's important to bear in mind that there's two parts to the platform. So there's this outer part, which is where you sign up for an account, and then an inner part where you actually can access the content. So what I'll run through today is how you might get started at a centre if you're interested in becoming a centre. It's using the tool, how to create an account with learners, how to register for a course and indeed multiple courses, and how to look at different types of activities within the courses. So all of our activities for learners are all very interactive, and we have some new activity types that were not on our old platform, so I'll show you what they look like. And then the tutor view. So now tutors will get a login where they can see learner progression. So the very first thing is, if you are a centre and you're interested in using our new platform, the first thing would be to send an email to mou@nala.ie. So that's to my colleague Elaine. And Elaine will send you out the information that you need to get started. So even if you were a centre that was previously using our old platform, WriteOn, you will still need to go through this new process of re-engaging with us. This memorandum of understanding is basically a form that says your centre name, any tutors that you might want logged into this platform, what your main work is, website, and so on. Also, if you are a centre, say from the disability sector, so with learners with special learning needs, and you're not an ETB, but if you have learners who may be supported by a local ETB, and if that ETB is uploading your learners' details onto the SOLAS database, then we call it being affiliated to an ETB. And that's one of the questions that we ask you as well, because any learners who will use this platform going forward will have to have their details uploaded to this PLSS system, as we're funded by SOLAS, and that's a requirement from SOLAS. But if you are an ETB and your learners are ETB learners, then we don't upload those details, but we capture them when the learner creates an account. So it's important to note that if you had learners using the old platform, they will still have to create a new account on the new platform and start the process again from scratch. So that's what this new Memorandum of Understanding is. So it's a new form. You can return that along with a centre logo to mou@nala.ie. And I will send out the slides from today to all the people who registered for this webinar. So you will get these slides after as well. We do require that you have membership of NALA. So you can contact my colleague, Margaret Murray, about NALA membership details and indeed the benefits of it as well. And then we ask that you attend one of our webinars. As we're coming into the summer period now, we don't have any webinars scheduled. The next one will probably be the end of August, start of September. But I'll send out an email to everybody today with these slides. And also, if you need to have a session between now and the end of August, I can schedule something brief for you so that we can go through some Q&A. Okay, so that's okay. Once this is processed, then we'll set up your centre along with a logo, and we'll also set up tutor accounts for you. So you get an email, and the email looks something like this. So the email goes to the centre contact. It's on that form. They'll get a special login, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So that's specifically for their centre. We'll send you some supports. So there's a little getting started guide, which I can send to you after today, and some videos that capture what I'm going through here. And for any tutors, they will get their own login, okay? So unlike the old platform, we have a special account that we set up now for tutors. So we ask that tutors don't set up their own test accounts because we can do that for you. At the moment, we're just setting up the first 5 or 6 tutors that is requested on the form. But if you have lots more tutors, we can set those up as well. So we're just prioritizing the first 5, but then we'll set up as many tutors as you need. So don't be afraid to ask. And then we'll give you a link to any webinars that are happening, also to a Google form where you can report issues, and just anything to do with questions and answers will be in this email that goes to the centre contact. So tutors that are in a centre will get a very specific link that would look something like this. So if you see at the top of the screen here, it says courses.nala.ie, and then there's a long link, and then there's a code here. That code is for a very specific centre. So the create your account page looks like this. So this is where the learner first goes to, or you might be doing this on behalf of a learner. But what you'll notice at the bottom of this form is that only your centre is listed here. So unlike the old platform, there used to be a long list of about 190 centres, and it meant that as a tutor or learner, you had to go through that long list to find your centre. Now only your centre is listed here. So this is why we create everything for you and give you this link once you've filled out this initial form, so that you get this direct link for your learners. Okay, and then if a learner is not in a centre, so if you have family members, cousins, neighbours, anybody else who maybe wants to just learn independently, they can also use this platform by going to courses.nala.ie and clicking on login and register. And they'll also be brought to an account page, but obviously it won't have the name of a centre there. You sign up as either an independent learner, a homeschooler, or a NALA distance learner. Okay. The advantage of being a centre learner is that if there is any queries in relation to what a learner is doing, then we can follow up quite quickly. It also means as a centre learner that as a tutor, you can follow the progress of that learner. And we also put up a banner then for each centre, because even though we're calling the platform Learn with NALA, we recognise that these are your learners and you're responsible for their learning. So we're trying to acknowledge that by branding the login page then for your learners. The logo, we just ask when you send it in to us, just to bear in mind that it has to fit into this kind of shape, which is 1200 by about 240 pixels. So if it's a very long or wide logo, we need to fit it into this kind of shape. So just bear that in mind. If you don't have a logo, that's okay. We'll take one from your website, or we can make one for you as well. So don't worry if you don't have one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how a tutor would create an account for a learner. Okay, so what you'll see here is the link. So this is the kind of link that might go out to a centre contact and to any tutors then that have been named as being tutors who will use this platform going forward. So they'll get a very specific link, and on that link it will name only that centre. So in this case, Dóchas den Uagadh. Okay, so the first thing that has to be done is that a learner account has to be created. So I'm just going to call this one Dóchas Learner 7. I get to create a password myself. Okay, so unlike the old platform where it was generated for you, I get to make it myself. Note that learners will need an email address. Okay, in the past we've had tutors who've used their own email accounts here, and then we've actually had to pull that data with a view to putting it onto the PLSS system, and then it was the tutor's own emails really that should have gone up there. So bear in mind now that this needs to be the learner's own email, and each email should be unique. So maybe that's something to keep in mind, that over the summer, if you need to create email accounts for learners, that they do need an email address. This is because there's a lot more intelligent agents that we can use on the new platform, where we can send out announcements and feedback and things like that. So we need to be able to contact the learner. So I'm going to put in one here. Okay. And then the other details we look for is the name of the learner. Okay, so I'm just using some test details here. Okay, and we do look for the PPSN up front. Okay, this is because we're using the one form for ETB learners and non-ETB learners, and the non-ETB learner details have to go up onto this PLSS system from SOLAS. So we need to collect that in. Plus, if learners are using this to go forward for certification, we would have to provide those details to QQI. So if I put in a date of birth, and then there are terms and service and a privacy policy here to look through. When I click onto any of these, it'll bring me to another tab, but in here there's a video that explains all the details down here. Okay, so we try and keep it as transparent as possible for learners, and also explains how to go back to the previous tab. And the same for the privacy policy. So that's all explained in videos. And then I click on Create Account. So that's my account created for this particular learner. Okay, so during COVID times, maybe you're doing this online with a learner, or doing it in advance for a learner yourselves. Or if the learner is doing it themselves, what I also recommend is when we send you this long link. So for example, a link like this, what you can do is go to a website called tinyURL, and you can copy that long link and then make tiny URL, and you get a slightly shorter version here. Okay. Sometimes you can put it in several times and it'll generate different IDs here. So what I'd recommend is that whenever learners are returning to centres, just to take that link and to copy it onto all the computers in your computer room or computers on a trolley, or you can use the small link as well to maybe email to learners, depending on your learner's ability and comfort as well. But that's quite a useful website for shortening that long URL. Unfortunately, we can't make that link any shorter than it is at the moment. So the first part is to create the account. Then the learners need to register for courses. So unlike the old platform, where all the courses were automatically available to learners, now they need to register for each course. At the moment, we have 8 level 2 courses available, and there will be level 3s coming in July, starting with personal effectiveness, and then into August as well. Okay, so you can have a look on this page at the courses that will be up and coming. To register for a course then of the existing ones, click on Register Now. And what that does is then it registers this new account into that course, in this case, reading. Okay. If I wanted to enroll the learner into several courses in the one go, what I can do then is use my back button to go back here and then just click on the next course. Okay, so now the learner is enrolled into writing. And go back again, enroll them into quantity and number. Then pattern and relationship, and so on. Okay, so some tutors have contacted me and they said, I've created the learner's account or I've done it with the learner, but I don't see that they have any courses. Don't forget that this is the second step that you need to do. Some people like this because maybe they only want to focus on a particular area, for example, personal decision making. Okay, so that means the learner isn't too distracted by having a lot of courses and content coming at them. Later on, we will be changing this so that we can bundle all these courses into the one. Okay, but as we're just launching courses one by one at the moment, then this is the way to do it. So you click on each one, register now. And then you should be registered into the course. Okay. So it's just going around at the moment here. I hope it's not my internet access and that you're still with me. I'm just going to go back here for a second and see if that will clear it. Okay, so it's just been a little slow to respond there. So if I just go back to courses and that link that I had up there. Okay, what you'll note at the top of the page here is that it says log out. So the browser at the moment recognizes that this Locus Learner 7 account that I've created has been logged in. Okay, so when I go to start now and just go to my courses page again, because I'm still logged in as that learner account that I've created, if I click on setting learning goals, then it still sees it as Locus Learner 7, that learner account. Okay, so now I've registered for this course, and then when I've clicked as many courses as I want, then I go to clicking here, and it'll bring me to a login page. Okay, because I'm using this website a lot, it will bring me to an account page like this. Normally, when you're doing it with your learners, what you'll find is then you're directly into the content behind this. Okay, so you shouldn't need to have to put in a username and password. It's just useful to point out that this is the second, or what I call the inner part of our platform. So the outer part is where you create the account and sign up for courses. The inner part is then where you access the material once you've signed up for it. Note here that make sure that you're using Google Chrome or the latest version of Edge, or if it's on a phone or tablet, Apple Safari or Firefox. Okay, so older versions of Edge or indeed Internet Explorer won't work. So if you find that when you go in and look at the content and it's blank, it may be because it's an older browser. Okay. If you have any questions, then you can call us at any stage and we can have a look at the accounts that have been created as well. So I'm going to log in here, this inner part, with the new account that I've created. Okay, the forgot your password here is useful as well. So if anybody has forgotten their password, then it'll send a reminder to their email. So this is why the email accounts are important for learners. Okay, so what I'll see in here is this banner, first of all. So we have test center up here, but if you were in a center like any one of the ETBs that have signed up for us, or one of the many centers, and we have over 70 centers set up now, this is where your logo would go. So your learner would know that they're part of your center then when they log in here. And you can see all the courses that I've signed up for with this learner are here. Okay, so that I signed up for all 8. So this is the home page of Brightspace, which is provided to us by D2L, the provider. Okay, what you'll see here is the courses that I've signed up for are here. There's also some announcements. So there's a video down here that explains how to get started. If I want to play this video, I click on the square to make it big, and then click on the play button. And then I just click on the square again to minimize it. Okay, so this video here basically explains what I'm explaining now in the webinar today. So how to get started, the fact that this is a home page, that the courses that you've registered in are here, and then how to get started on a particular course. So if we pick one like Pattern and Relationship at level 2, I click on the course. And then this is the home page for the course. Okay, so like the main site homepage, there's announcements. So there's a video here that explains what the course is about and the type of activities that you'll see within the course. There's a second announcement that I've added to say that you can now get a QQI award in this course. So you can play those videos, or if you just want to get started straight into the content, then I can click on content. So what you'll see is something that looks like this, okay, this page. So this is the equivalent, for those of you who used Write-On before, of that pathway page that looked like ladders, where the learner had a little icon and the icon would move along this path. The goal in these courses, if you want somebody to do the whole course, is to get an end test to appear at the bottom here. Okay. Some people might want to use this for certification and complete the end test, in which case we will automatically check your work. So we'll be able to see from data on the platform that the learner has done the end test and then check the work and then automatically forward them for a QQI award. But as a tutor, you may just want to dip in and out of the content as well, in which case you can click on any of the lessons at any time and then click on any of the screens within the lesson. Okay, so all of these lessons would map to the QQI learning outcomes. So for QQI level 2, Pattern and Relationship, there's 4 learning outcomes and everything in here maps to those. So once you're set up as a centre tutor, you'll have a view like this, and I would recommend just to go in and have a look through the lessons and get familiar with it if you just want to use it for blended learning. Okay. The first block here, called What Do I Already Know, is our new name for what we called before the initial assessment. So this really just tests learner skills. So unlike the old platform, you don't have to do it, but if you have learners who might know something about pattern and relationship, they can do this, and if they get everything right, then the end test will automatically appear. So they're fast forwarding through the course. So you can decide how you would like to do this. If you want learners to do that, if you just want to use parts of the lessons, or if you'd like to use the whole thing for certification, and we do the validation and verification for you. So your centre doesn't have to do that. If you decided that you wanted to do this initial test with your learners, then you would click on the next button. And that will bring up an activity that looks like this. So this kind of activity is what we call drag and drop. And the idea is that the learner would take things and put them into the correct place on the right. Okay. What you'll see as I'm doing this, I can move things around if I want as well. And you see this symbol here, which is a speaker button. So that will read out the text that's beside it. So that's on every part of these screens as well. Okay. Then I click on check answers and I get a score. Now, because this is an assessment, there isn't any more feedback here, but you will see more feedback when we look into the lessons. Okay, so there's another one of these. Okay, and I might get some of this wrong just to show you what happens. Okay, so I get a score. Again, no feedback because this is an assessment. So this also gives you an idea of the kind of activities that appear and how it's pitched as well, because it's level 2. And again, I can move things around, or at any point I could click on clear answers and that will reset all of this again. Okay, and then there's a conclusion screen here. So the conclusion screen has 2 videos. One that tells you what to do if you think you answered everything correctly, which means that the end test should automatically appear. And if you do that in pattern and relationship, then we'll automatically check the work here in NALA and automatically forward you then for a QQI award. If you got some things wrong, then there's another video that you can play. And again, you can enlarge this to show you what to do then in case you get something wrong. Okay. So I can click on next here, or I can go back to content and it'll bring me back to this lessons page with all the blocks here. Okay. So that video explains that as a learner, so I can go to my progress and I can look at grades and I can see how I got on each of these tasks. Remember, I got the second question wrong, but I got the other questions right. Okay, so the video will tell you that if you got a question wrong, so if it's number 2, then go and have a look at lesson number 2 and work your way through that lesson. And that's how the end test would appear. So there's two paths to getting to the very end of the course. I can either go through all the lessons, which is here in content, and work my way through each of these blocks, or I can get everything right and get to the end test. As I say, as a tutor, you might decide that you don't want learners to do this or it's not needed, in which case you could go straight into lesson and then you could start into the lesson. Okay, I would personally recommend the initial test or the initial assessment because it's a way at least of getting a kind of a diagnostic as well, just to see where people stand. And I'll show you with your tutor login very briefly in a second how you can see that progress. Just to give you an idea of some of the other activity types that we mentioned. So there will be some information screens that look like this. There'll be this kind of activity, which is the drag and drop one that we saw already. And this is a new type of activity called sequencing. So in this particular one, you have to put the things into the right order so that they match the wording above, okay? And the video, each of the lessons has a video at the start of it, and that video would explain how to do this particular type of activity. So here I would click on an item and drag it along. And what I'm looking for then is these green bars. So we felt that this type of activity was good because there's no score in it, okay? So here we're not doing an assessment, we're simply looking into a block of content, a lesson. And it's not always about getting a score either. So there's different ways of getting, nice positive feedback by having these green bars. I can also, in this case, because it's not an assessment and it's a lesson, I can try it again. And then it will jumble it up and I can go again. Or I can go to the next activity. Other activity types will be ones like this, where there's an audio file that you have to play, and then you need to type in the box. Or there's true or false type questions. So I can click on the different answers here. Note that it says that there's question 1 of 3. So this type of question is divided up into parts. So I would give an answer, click on check answers, and then continue to get to the next part. Okay, you saw the previous button appear there, so I can always go back, or I can try the whole thing again by clicking on try again. Okay, you see this pop-up that's appearing here? These are little badges, and I'll explain about what they are in a second as well. So we're acknowledging that when learners get things right or complete things, that we give them a badge for it as well. So it's a nice bit of reinforcement for them. So just to show you one other type of new question type, so I can dip straight into a question as well if I want, which could be very useful, as I say, in a blended scenario. So I can dip in here. So I do recommend to get familiar with the content. This type of one is a hotspot question. So you need to follow the instruction and then click on a particular area. And when you do, a question will pop up. Then you click on an answer and then continue. And the goal is to find, in this case, 2 items. Some other images might have 4 items. Okay, and then that's this particular task done. Again, I can try the whole thing again, or I can move to the next activity. So just going back to some of the slides that we had, I mentioned about the tiny URL to shorten the URL and some of the new features. So we have a branded center homepage. So this is the logo. There is instructional videos. So there's more videos about how to use the platform than we would have had on Write On. You've seen those new questioning types, which are sequencing and hotspot, and the ability to dip in and out of lessons. So you don't necessarily have to follow things in a particular order. You can decide that, or your learners can follow through in a way that they want to do it. And then there's badges. So in my learner account here, if I just go back and go to awards, what I'll see here is the awards that I've got to date. So this will include all my awards. And then if I go to view available awards, it'll list all the awards that are available to me in this particular course. Okay, so there's an award for each skill that maps to a learning outcome. So I get these awards or badges by either getting a question right in the initial assessment or the what do I already know block, which maps to a learning outcome, or by going through a complete lesson, which also maps to a learning outcome. Because I didn't quite finish lesson 2, so if we go back to content again and click on lesson 2, I would need to work my way through this, okay, to get this award. At any time as a learner, I can also click on my progress. And I can see the grades, which map to my initial assessment and also my end test, if I've done it, and content. And when I click on content, I can see here all the blocks that I see in that lesson page. So there's the initial assessment, there's each of the lessons, and I can see how far I've got in it. So what I've done when I last visited it. And the thing is, now as a tutor, you'll be able to go and view all this. So if I log out of my learner account and log in as a test tutor account, okay, so I still see the banner for my particular centre. I'll be automatically enrolled into courses by NALA. So we do that on your behalf. So you don't need to go and create an account or register into courses. We will do that for you. And then I would go and click on a particular course to see what's happening in it. So if I click on pattern and relationship, for example, and go to course admin and class progress, and this will all be provided, these instructions, as a video when I send out the email when you're set up as a tutor. Then you can see all the learners in your centre that are using this particular course. And I can see if they have any grades, which means they've done some kind of assessment, or how much content they've visited. So for example, I can click on a particular learner account. And then I'm seeing the same view that the learner sees under my progress. Okay. So if I go back to class progress again, and just go to that learner account that I literally just set up, this learner 7, then I can see their grades. So we know that I got the second task wrong. And then if I click on content, I can see what they've been doing in the individual lessons. Okay, so this learner has done something on lesson 1, something on lesson 3, but to get to the end test, they'd need to complete all of lesson 2. And if I want to know more about what they've done in this lesson, I can click on the lesson and it brings me into the actual content. Or I can click on the arrow here and it'll show me all the lesson content listed out this way, but it'll also show me how long I spent in each activity. Okay, so remember when I was demoing this for you, I was just showing you the different types of activities. Some of them I actually did do. So here I spent a minute on this one, but some I only looked at. But it does note that the learner viewed the topic, okay? So if you have a learner and they're using this and they're looking at maybe 4 blocks of content and they're flying through it and they come back to you and say, yeah, I've done everything, then log in as a tutor, go to each lesson, click on the arrow to look at the details. And again, I'll give you a video on this. And then see how long they've spent on it. Because if somebody's only spent 2 seconds on it, it's most likely they didn't actually do it. Okay, so that's just something to bear in mind. This can also be useful if you see somebody spending maybe 5 or 10 minutes on a particular activity, then that might be a flag that maybe they have an issue with it. So that might be an area that they need help on. Okay. So this is, as I say, a new feature that you can use then to track your learners' progress. So if I go back to the home page again, where I can see all the courses that I'm automatically enrolled into by NALA, and look at maybe another course like writing and course admin and class progress. Again, then I can see all the learners that have enrolled in that particular course and what they've done. So for example, this particular learner here has done tasks and they have got everything right in that initial assessment because everything is 100%. But they've also done questions, which is how we word the summative assessment, or what we call the end test. And they've got everything right here as well. A learner can go back over a question as many times as they need on that summative assessment as well. And then you'd see that it would be updated to a slightly different date. So we give them a chance to do it again. This is the only course at the moment where there is also portfolio work. So if I go to content, I see down here that there's portfolio work, okay? And if I click on portfolio, I can see what's required. So in this particular case, the learner would need to upload an example of writing, which they can do. Unfortunately, I can't see what they've actually uploaded, okay? So to do that, I'd have to ask the learner or their account to log in and see what they have uploaded. Or ideally, we're asking them to make sure that they check the work before they upload it with a tutor or family member. Okay, so at level 3, the learner will have a lot more portfolio work that they have to do, but you will be able to see how much of the portfolio work that they have done by going into the class progress and then picking out that particular learner. And looking at content. So you'll be able to see if they've at least completed it. So just on the slides then, so that mentioned the tutor login, and then also what I'm sending out is a link to a survey, which would be great if you could take the time to fill it out and give us feedback, because we're constantly changing things on the platform. So at the moment, the way you see class progress is by going to something called course admin and then class progress. We may change that in time, so it just becomes one button that you go to. So this is, as I say, changing all the time. And then there's some links that I've put in here, which is to a subscribe list where you can get updates on the platform, the tiny URL, the shortener that I was talking about, the link to the outer part of the platform where you create accounts if you're an independent learner. But of course, we'll provide you with this link directly once you're a tutor in a centre, and then to the survey as well. So that's all the theory part. I'll just go and have a look-see now if there's any questions and go through it. Okay, so if anybody has any questions, you can type in the questions, or you can also raise your hand. Okay, so you should see a hand symbol where you can ask a question, and I can have a look through that and see if anybody has any questions. So feel free to ask now. Okay, so I see something beside Joshua's name. So Joshua, I'm going to unmute you. And if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I know, so I used to use the Write-On platform, and we kept a record of all learners' passwords. They had like a little progress sheet, but we had their passwords in case they may have misplaced the password or forgotten it. Should we do that now, or does the new tutor login allow us to fix that or allow them to sign in again?
Yeah, that's a good question. The tutor login won't allow you to change their password. Now they can change it themselves by clicking on that forgot your password on the login screen. So what a lot of people are tending to do is, if I just go to the NALA site here for a second. So if I go to nala.ie, so after they've created the account maybe for the learner, they might then just point the learner straight to this login page. Okay, sorry, I'm just the login. I need to just log out. Yeah, to this page here, and then they might use that forgotten password. So it's up to yourself. Some people, as I say, are creating the accounts in advance and then just purely directing the learner to this page and then giving them the username and password. Some people are doing it, you know, for the learner, depending on the learner's abilities. Some are doing it with the learner, maybe through like Zoom. And ideally when people are back in centres, then you do it with the learner there in front of them. So, but there's probably not as much need to keep a note of the password. Note that if you do click on this though, it'll send an email back to the learner's email. So if the learner isn't using their email that much or forget their email or their password for their email, then it might be a good idea to maybe keep a note of the password as well.
Grand. Cheers.
You're welcome. I'm just going through some of the questions that appeared in the question box. So somebody said if they have to set up the people themselves and to help people to do the courses while they're waiting to register. So yeah, if you are a centre and you have filled out the MOU, we're processing it at the moment. So when you get that email, and there are a few that I'm trying to do this week, so apologies if you've been waiting quite some time. I'll try and get them out to you. So directly when you get that, then you can start registering learners. Okay, so even if you're in the process of paying your membership or you're waiting to do a webinar, once you get that link, you can start registering learners. And then there'll be no need to re-register them again. Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm conscious of time and to try and maybe finish up a little bit before 2. So raise your hand or type in your question into the box. Okay, Noelle, I saw that you had some questions in the box and you had your hand raised as well, or you had a question beside your name. I can just unmute you if there's anything else you want to ask now. Hi, Noelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I think you kind of covered my question there. I was just wondering, while we were waiting, we had set people up and we've been doing some of the courses with them. So
okay.
some of them have completed the reading, but they haven't received their end test.
Okay.
So they're just waiting for the end test so that they can get their cert. But will we have to re-register them afterwards? Or will it come up that they have the course completed?
So what I can do is, Noelle, you can email me their names, and if they've been set up as independent learners, I can move them in under your centre. Now,
Okay.
we don't recommend to do that just in case they might lose something, but I think if they've already started like that, I can do that for you. And then the end test mightn't have appeared because I only launched some of those yesterday. So hopefully now they should be able to go in and see it. So if they've worked their way through all the lessons, then the end test should appear. But again, once you send names, I can just go in and do a check on that and make sure that it's appeared for you. So we do have a verification period, which is going to be the end of July. I think initially we had a request everything in by the end of this week, but we've pushed that back out now to the 22nd of July. So in August, then we'll gather all of this up and do our own internal verification, external verification. So it'll take a while now before people will get, so just to bear that in mind as well. But yeah, anybody that's done work past the end test, and all the level 2s that are there at the moment, bar writing, only have an end test, no other portfolio work to do, but writing needs a submission as well. Okay.
Perfect. I was trying to do the writing one today. I think maybe you have answered this question already, but it kept going into the first page where you play the 2 videos, and every time I clicked on content, it just kept going blank and it wouldn't let me launch any unit. Is this maybe because I wasn't going through Chrome, would you think?
That could be a bug. There is a little bug there at the moment, because you should be able to click on the next button and then it should bring you back to an end of summary screen and then go on, I'm done. And then you should be back into where all the lessons are. So if something like that, yeah, it's probably a bug. And again, you can just email me and let me know, or put it into the Google form as well that I'll send out to you as a centre. So yeah, if you see something that's a bit of an anomaly, just let us know, because it mightn't necessarily be something that you've done wrong or anything like that. You know, there are a few little bugs that are we're working on those. So yeah, so you can send me an email after this, Noelle, with anything you see.
Perfect. And just one more thing, so as the staff, as obviously we're remote working from home and we're doing the NALA with people, but we're doing it through video call to help them. So, well, I know I have set up my own account, so I'm actually doing it with them. So the staff are doing the course so that we can help them if they need a bit of help. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, because, you know, it's just like what you would do in a centre. And I've often done it over the phone myself with a learner, where I've, you know, they've been on their computer and I've said, okay, well, what do you think is the right answer here? Like, you can't click on the things for them, but you can prod them and help them, and, you know, or you can click on the things for them if they tell you where to drag and drop them, you know. So that's okay, as long as you're facilitating more so than telling them what to do.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a million.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, any other questions? I just see there's one there from Mary. So Mary O'D, I'll just unmute you, and if you want to ask your question. Hello, Mary? No? Okay. Okay, I think that's really all the questions then that have come up. So thank you again for your time today. I know it's been a difficult few months, and thank you also for your patience as well while we've been trying to get content out. That you may see some bugs in the system, so I'll be sending out a Google form to all the tutors, and you can use that to report issues as well, or just come back to us on the free phone, or you can also email me. And I'll send out the link to this recording then probably tomorrow along with the slides as well. And yeah, we wish you the best with your journey on Learn with Nala. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.